Well, hello there. I didn't see you enter my hotel room all the way over in Hamburg. How did you get in? Oh, I left the door unlocked. And I'm only in a bath towel? Oh, silly me. Uh, well, since you're here, welcome to the Unwashed Asses, episode 52, recorded Tuesday, the 28th, August. Out of order. My brain's not working right now too well, guys. It's supposedly like 4 a.m. or something back home. It's 11 a.m. here. Slept in until 10 because I woke up for a solid 4 hours last night because the time differential's fucking me up. But we're overseas. Hey, our first international episode. Hey, our first episode in how many months? Hey. So, yeah, the little lady and we took a trip. She had to do some business out here and said, hey, you want to go over to Germany? Like, yes, please. Thank you. I love you. Let's do this. So, put together last minute flight details and off and away we were. So, it was. It was a pain in the ass getting things not necessarily put together, but waiting for the time to come. It's kind of like when you're expecting Christmas, where it's like, oh, I know this amazing thing's gonna happen, and then the paranoid negative side of my head is telling me, well, don't get too excited about it because what if something goes wrong? For whatever reason, you're not allowed to leave the country, or things fall through. Don't get too excited, but at the same time, like, oh, I get a break from work, which I've been really, really wanting. Um, so as it got closer and closer, I'm trying not to let myself get excited so I don't get disappointed until the weekend shows up where I've made it through the 2 weeks of work that I had to do, and I got my boy, and everything's awesome as it usually is when he comes over. We're having a lot of fun, which reminds me. So he's 4. He's super impressionable. He's been into Minecraft a ton lately, and Minecraft had been all consuming for a solid month and a half, I would say, where that's all we would do. I went out and I bought us a private server so we could play together, and invited a bunch of friends. We're all playing, and he's like, "Oh, let's go do this, let's go do that." But he's very demanding when he plays. Constantly saying, "Oh, I need the iron, or I need all the gold, and I want this, and we need to go do this." And he's just like on me, on me, on me, because he's in that phase in life as a toddler where he has to repeat everything until you acknowledge it, and I'm trying to break him of it, but it's rough right now. So I'm like, okay, well, let's try something besides Minecraft. So we go and I have a entire category of games on the Xbox. I'm like, let's see what we got here. Castle Crashers was super popular with his sisters when they were about this age. Let's give this a whirl. And for those not in the know, Castle Crashers is a super fun 2D beat 'em up, featuring knights of different colors. Each color has a different power, kind of like Power Rangers, and it's very easy to do. So he gets super into that. Now, in one of the levels, there's this chase scene where this big furry forest creature is coming after you, and I don't know which end I'm supposed to be talking into for. I've got this digital recorder that I had when I used to do interviews, and I didn't like the sound quality in the meeting setting. I'm like, oh, let's go over to voice notes, and I don't know where to point the microphone. So as I spin it around in my hand, audio might get wonky. But this has the nicest quality from what I was able to determine of the different settings. Anywho, I digress from my digression. There's the one level where you have the forest creature that's chasing you, and you can't kill him. And admittedly, it's kind of intense. You have to hop on these deer and jump over these logs and go through these doorways and not let him catch you. And meanwhile, the entire level's shaking. He's like crashing his claws next to you and roaring and all this stuff. Turns out he got really scared of that level, and I wasn't expecting him to because it's very cartoony overall. But I forget that he's 4. And at 4, a lot of stuff scares you. And, I was the same way where, like, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, for whatever reason, I don't know if I just saw the wrong scene as a kid or if overall it's just because it's a scary movie. That shit imprinted on me, and I was terrified of it for years and years and years. Like, it took me until at least my mid to late 20s before I would actually sit and watch one of those movies because they freaked the fuck out of me. So similar situation with him. It's just whatever it is, it's wigging him out. And the reason I bring that up is because I don't really consider that a super scary thing, but he does. And it led into him revealing kind of another fear. He had mentioned it before, but I didn't know it was as bad as it is. There's this game on the phones called Granny, and I don't know that it's like a survival horror thing. I guess you could consider it that, but it's akin to games like Amnesia or Outlast, or even Slenderman, where you have this one quote-unquote monster that's chasing you through the game, and you have to escape by collecting things. As Jack tells me, you have to collect these different keys from around the house while hiding from Granny. If Granny catches you, she'll kill you with a baseball bat. But you have to survive 5 days and unlock the door in the basement to get out. And he was he kept talking about it, and he's afraid to go to sleep because he's afraid Granny will get him. And apparently he's been having a lot of nightmares about it, so I texted his mom, like, hey, what's the deal with this? He's like, oh yeah, one of his sisters showed him the game, and I talked to him about it, and they're not allowed to do that anymore because he got really scared. He had trouble sleeping like a night or two. I'm like, oh, okay. But he's really wigged out about it. And it sucked because it's at this point as a parent where trying to turn the temperature down here, but it's all Celsius. Is 20 Celsius hot? Is it cooler? It was set to like 21. I'd like it just a hair colder in here. We'll turn it down to 19 and hope for the best. So anyways, it's really hard to get him to like kind of go to sleep. And Rachel and I, we went to, her more so than me, went to really great lengths to, do up his room for him. Like, this, my goal as a parent was always to, because I moved around a lot as a kid, was you're always going to have your own room, buddy. You're always going to have your own space that it's yours. You just hang out and it's your area. So, he's got pictures of Batman, a picture of his mom. We recently went out and did it all up in Minecraft stuff where we built kind of like a fort around his bed. It's in the daybed style right now. And so we erected, those like 6 foot tall makeshift laundry hangers. Like you put in your closet or whatnot if you don't have bars. So we got a couple of those, put cardboard on either side, put some Minecraft, and we put them on either side of the bed, draped some fitted sheets around them so it creates like this little makeshift fort around the bed. Put some Minecraft posters inside and some lights along the top so you can plug it in. It's this cool little, it's a fort, as you were a kid at one point, if you're not now, and if you are, I don't know why you're listening to this, but it was always, one of the funner things is, all right, let's build a fort. Let's get some pillows, some blankets, chairs. We're going to build a fort. And it was super awesome. I remember this fort I would always build at my grandparents'. Like, same design, super easy to build. We put it together. And, at night, though, the point is it creates this safe space for him where there's a lot of Christmas lights along the top. So it's very well lit. He's got posters of Minecraft. There's a lot of stuff going on. It's kind of like a Where's Waldo. There's just a ton of shit happening. but he's still scared of Granny, and it sucks, because I grew up having night terrors, and just bad dreams in general, and my coping mechanism was always kind of like the Matrix, where if I have a bad dream, I would wake up and I'm like, okay, no, Tank or whoever it was, load me back up. So as I'm falling asleep, I'd go into the Matrix waiting room. It's like, all right, well, here's a bunch of weapons. Let me pick a weapon. And the idea being that I would kind of trick myself into lucid dreaming, where I could go back into the nightmare and then fight back against whatever was scaring me. And it worked really, really well. I started doing it, in my teens, and it worked to the point where, lucid dreaming is something I can do on a fairly regular basis. It's a lot easier than it used to be, at least. And I don't have bad dreams in that sense anymore. Now they're more so about, oh, what do I regret about, the past? Or, hey, nice to see you again. Thanks for breaking my heart. Let's relive that type of shit. And you can't really load up a lightsaber and beat that. So I'm trying to teach him a similar concept of okay, here's your iron sword from Minecraft. Let's take that to bed with you. That way, when you fall asleep, if you're having a bad dream, your sword becomes real in your dream, and then you can fight Granny. And I guess it worked in a way, because he didn't have bad dreams, or really any dreams, the 2 nights that he was with me. So you have these 2 Nerf swords, and they click together kind of like Darth Maul's double-sided, dual-bladed lightsaber. I give him one, and I'm like, okay, buddy, this is your sword, and then this is my sword. So you take your sword back to your mom's with you. That way, if you have bad dreams, you can take your sword into your dream and fight Granny or whoever, and then I have my sword. That way, when you need to fight, my sword, it's kind of like a walkie-talkie, my sword goes off. I know what's going on, and I can go in your dream and help you. And it seemed to help. Been texting his mom, and he hasn't had a bad dream, or at least hasn't mentioned it. I don't know how true that is, but all I can do is trust her and hope I did right. But yeah, so aside from that really great weekend with him, another derail tangent here. We picked up, because I'm trying to get him into other games, because Castle Crashers and Minecraft, he wants me to play with him, which is awesome. I want to play with him. It's fun times, but at the same time, I have a really hard time playing with him because he is so demanding, and it's nonstop with him. And I guess that's kind of how some people feel when they have to play Warcraft with me. It's like, okay, we're gonna do this for hours and hours and hours and hours. So I guess turnabout is fair play, but so we go ahead and all right. Telltale puts out these really fun narrative games. They're not super hard to play. There's a few QuickTime events, but it's mostly watching this story unfold. And I know they have a Minecraft one, so I download episode 1 of that, and it turns out it's a really fun game, and I was having a blast playing it with them. So if you're in the mood for a nice little, not necessarily you have to turn off your brain type of game, but you're more watching a show or a movie, I definitely recommend it. Anywho, so drop him off. And as soon as I kind of drop him off, that's the point that things become a bit more real for this trip, in the sense that, all right, now I have to pack, I have to get my shit together, because we're leaving Sunday. So tomorrow, we're leaving the next day. And I'm still kind of getting everything ready, not really trying to keep expectations low, not trying to get excited. Because part of this is also, for longer time listeners, I've been learning German out of spite for years now. I've been working on Duolingo, and Duolingo's like, oh yeah, you're 50% fluent. And I don't feel it. I'm not super comfortable in my German because I haven't been doing anything outside the lessons. Um, I have flashcards. I have two copies of The Little Prince, and I'm not really like reading. I should be reading like children's books or watching children's TV shows. Kind of like how kids today learn. Or we're gonna start off really simple, like the cat is blue for whatever reason, and build on that from there. Get into like I want to read about sparkly vampires in the young adult German section. And work my way up, and I'm not doing that. And so I'm not super confident in my German. I know a lot more than I think I do, but I was scared of that going into this trip of like, okay, last time I went overseas, it was to South Korea, and of course there's this big language gap, but for the most part, people are going to leave me alone because they can instantly recognize foreigner. However, in Germany, I look just like everybody else. And there's always, I don't want to be, that shitty tourist or that shitty guest. Like I'm going to a restaurant, I can't expect them to know English, even though we're going to a major city. I should be able to do, some stuff in that language. And I realize a lot of people are going to be hospitable, but I don't have a handler this time around. I'm just going on my own. And so it's really going to be put to the test finally, like, okay, asshole, you've been doing this German, off and on, but pretty consistently for since 2015. Put up or shut up. And so I'm nervous about that. But things don't really become real for me until we actually go to the bus. The bus is going to take us down to O'Hare, and we're going to fly out of there. It's at this point it becomes real, and I start getting excited, and then my guilt comes into play. For those that know me, they know I don't like myself. In my own mind, I am the biggest piece of shit to walk the earth. As such, I don't deserve nice or good things. And when Rachel offered, like, oh, let's go out there together, we'll have a nice vacation, when she's not working. And the idea is, we'll do Hamburg first, and then when I'm done with work, we'll take a train ride up to Amsterdam. And it's super nice. She paid for goddamn everything. And I'm sitting here feeling guilty, like I don't deserve this. I shouldn't be going. It's like, it reminds me a lot of the time I bought the Xbox for the family, the Xbox 360. Like, I just spent a lot of money. I don't deserve this. I know I'm buying it for like the kids, and they're going to be playing like Lego Indiana Jones and Kung Fu Panda and all that. But fuck, guilt. You're a piece of shit. You don't deserve nice things. It's just immediately going through me and making me feel awful. But she's able to coax me through it. We take the bus down, and it becomes like my favorite, because I love traveling in the sense of like, it's exciting going to the airport before all this TSA screening and whatnot, and sitting around, like the ritual is always, all right, I'm gonna go get some Starbucks, I'm gonna sit at the gate, gonna read or whatever, wait for the plane to board. Opted for the pat down. I don't like the scanner. I know what they tell me it should be doing, and this is the paranoid part of my brain. Like, I realize I am a batshit crazy, but I try to keep a lid on just how crazy I am and be reasonable. I don't know what the machine's doing. For all we know, it could be like the asbestos of, the 2000s, like, oh shit, we had this machine and it was giving everybody cancer. But we didn't know it at the time. So I always try to opt for the old-fashioned, all right, bring a TSA agent over. If it's going to be uncomfortable for me, it's going to be uncomfortable for you. Just put your hands all over my body. And he was super cool about it. Was cracking jokes, but I guess that's what you kind of have to do when you're rubbing random strangers all day, every day. But get through that, and it got me thinking, like, because they have to pull your waistband out across, the entirety of your pants, check your collar and whatnot. What if he's like an aspiring magician or just really good at sleight of hand, and as I'm going to the bathroom, I find like he slipped his number into my pants. Not that I'm that good looking, but the point stands, like, it'd be fucking hilarious. Um, so we get on the plane, and turns out we get, because she has a super awesome coworker, bumped up to business class because he has miles that are expiring or whatever. He's like, all right, fuck it, I'll burn them on you guys. And it was nice. It was really, really nice because I've only ever flown economy, and having like your own little private cubicle where they're like, well, here's 2 pillows, and here's a comforter, and here's some slippers, and this little travel pack, and it's like, all right, now you've given me all this extra shit. I need to find spots to cram. But the best thing was, so you're in this seat, but it has the power controls where you can recline it. You can even turn it into a full fucking bed. But there's this little cutout in the cubby in front of you where you can kick your feet up, and it was so nice. It was so nice. Is it worth, because when we were doing the check-in, it's like, oh, well, you can upgrade for an extra $160. Like, I don't know that it's worth $160. Like, it's really fucking nice, but I'm also really cheap. And when it came for like the in-flight Wi-Fi, granted I've not flown in years, but the last time I did, it was like, all right, it's $8 or whatever for Wi-Fi for the entire flight. And so I'm like, all right, well, let's take a look and see what the cost of Wi-Fi is this time around. And I pull up the menu, and it's like, all right, $11. That makes sense. Prices have gone up. Last time I had flown was 2012. Oh, no. It's $11 for the first hour. If you want Wi-Fi for the entire flight, you're looking at $27. Like, the fuck is this? It's an overnight flight. I'm not going to be awake for the majority of it, or at least I'm going to try not to be. So am I willing to spend $27 for, 3 hours of Wi-Fi? Fuck no. That's like $10 an hour. It's ridiculous. So then I'm like, all right, well, I planned on writing, but I'm a lot more distracted than I thought I would be. The guy sitting next to me is an asshole, and turns out he's French, but so in my mind I'm like, okay, all French are assholes, that's how we're doing this. Can't write. All right, let's try this reading thing, because I understand that, in business class they have the TVs mounted in the back of the seat ahead of you, and they have a whole bevy of movies, but it's distracting. I've got a French guy next to me going through the greatest hits of garbage, where he's watching Rampage or the Overboard remake, before he finally settles on Barry, which actually looked entertaining. The guy whose screen I can see next to me, he's watching Fahrenheit, and then Fahrenheit, what is it, 485? And then he switches over to Pacific Rim Uprising. It's like, all right, just garbage all around me. I'm not going to bother watching, even though they did have Isle of Dogs, and I still want to see that. Anywho, download, I don't download because I already had it on the tablet. Start rereading the Lovecraft stuff over again. And I still stand by my point. He is a fucking lazy-ass writer, and you can see his stuff coming from a mile away. But, again, he wrote it 100 years ago, so he kind of set the bar, and at his time it would have been fucking groundbreaking. But flight goes well, can't sleep too great, even though, the seat turns into a full-on bed, but I'm too big for it, like, just a little bit. Like, I can't straighten my legs out all the way, and I'm too wide, not because I'm fat, but, broad shoulders, where I can't, like, lay down. I always gotta have, like, a shoulder up in the air or something, and it works better than it would if I was just sitting in a seat, but still, yeah. So we land in Frankfurt. That's where our layover is, and we have about an hour to kill, and of course there's no seats, so we're sitting on the floor. And at this point, it's like, all right, they had been speaking a little German on the plane, but now that we're in actual Germany, and by the way, it was fucking gorgeous coming in, where we had been left Chicago, and the forecast was like, oh, it's 92 degrees, and it feels like 104, and where I live, they're like, yeah, it's going to be in the 90s, hot and humid all week. And there's Germany, it's like upper 60s, very little humidity. You might want to pack a light jacket. Like, yes, thank you. So as we're landing, we see like, oh, the trees are turning, and it's that classic like European countryside, and like, oh my God, it's so beautiful. So we get in Frankfurt, and we're waiting at the airport, and they must be like remodeling it because all the ceiling is ripped out and everything's exposed. It's very not necessarily post-apocalyptic, but industrial looking. Like, okay, yeah, I understand they're repairing stuff, but at the same time, I'm in a foreign country. The language they do speak, I understand little of, but I'm picking up bits and pieces, and so it's creating this weird scene in my head, and I realize at this point, and again, this is going to be stereotypical, but it's based off observations that I'm making while traveling. I don't have experience with Italians outside of my cousins, and even then, they're not like full-on Italian. It's like, okay, I have either great or great-grandparents from there, but they're more American than anything else. So, actual Italians, again, making stereotypical observations based on what I saw from this one family, they all like really loud colored glasses. They're very loud themselves. They sit around in a big pile, talking at one another. Twins are prevalent. They're annoying. But, no, it wasn't bad with the layover. We're able to board the flight. It's 45 minutes from Frankfurt over to Hamburg. Land in Hamburg. And at this point, the language barrier becomes apparent because our taxi driver, no English. English is not his forte. So he's able to understand, of course, like, oh, we're going to this hotel. Oh, name of hotel. All right, let's go. And they don't take cards. Apparently, there's an app that you have to get that you pay through that. Otherwise, you have to have cash. Fortunately, she had euros from her last trip. But now I begin realizing, the language barrier might be a very real thing here, where a lot of the customers I service in particular towns speak Spanish only, and that's a very aggravating thing for me. Not because they only speak Spanish, but because they refuse to learn English, even just enough, or are even willing to try. They just rely on kids to translate, which screams to me you're a piece of shit human being, because you've moved to a country where another language is the primary language. It's not like you're visiting. You decided to live here, and you're not making an effort to be able to communicate with other people, which is fine if you want to stay in your own little community, but sometimes you have to bring people like myself, cable techs, from outside the community to fix a problem. If you can't communicate with them, shit's not going to get fixed reliably or installed properly. I've seen it time and time again. And so getting over here, it's like, all right, well, I know some German. I need to make an effort to use it. And I found out that while I'm not great, I'm not awful. I can get away with simple phrases. It's like talking to a toddler with me. My grammar's super fucked up. But I get the point across, and that's the important thing. Like, we get checked into the hotel. Immediately it's like, okay, we've been traveling for 12 hours. Didn't really sleep much. Let's, take some showers, get a nap in, and then we're going to go out and explore. And so first point on the docket, it's like, all right, well, let's go out and there's this restaurant that she went to the last time she was here. Like, we have to go there. They have this delicious hamburger panfish. And then the idea is there's this Philharmonic opera house, which apparently fairly famous, but they have this observation deck where you go to the top of the building and then you get this just absolutely stunning view of the city. So we pull open Google Maps, and I cannot exclaim loudly enough how awesome Google Maps is. and even Google Translate when it comes to just getting around a foreign place. Like, I'm looking for this place. All right, well, how do you want to get there? Well, I want to walk. All right, we're still going to give you turn-by-turn directions. Or, and Rachel might argue this because we did get a little bit lost getting back to the hotel last night. But the hotel wasn't very clearly labeled, the front entrance. Like, we definitely walked right by it and did not notice it despite looking. So anywho, it's super great. Like, we had to take the subway to get to the restaurant. And it's like, all right, well, here's how you walk to the nearest subway entrance. Here's the name of it. You're going to take this train. It's going to go for 3 stops. You get off at this station, and then you're going to continue walking. And it turns out that the exit we get off on is for the red light district in Hamburg, Reeperbahn. And really, we get out and it's like, okay, well, maybe this is Europe. They're maybe just, more open with their sexuality because we see a sex shop here. We see what looks to be a whorehouse over there, but there's a lot of bars and whatnot mixed in. But as we keep walking, it's like sex shop, whorehouse, strip club, might be a prostitute, just over and over and over. And it's fairly sketchy. Like, I'm not uncomfortable, but I'm not super comfortable at the same time. Like, all right, I don't think anything's going to happen, and it didn't. But at the same time, like, okay, clearly this isn't a place we really want to be out, late at night. And we eventually make it to the restaurant, which is down by the harbor. And there's a very clear, like, delineation between Reeperbahn and where we ended up for the restaurant. Like, okay, it's like 2 different cities almost. So as we're waiting for our food, I pull up my phone. I'm like, all right, Reeperbahn, Hamburg. Oh, yeah, no, it turns out it's definitely the red light district. They call it the most sinful mile. Of course, that's where we end up. But I don't know. We might go back. It's because there was this brat stand at the down by the water there. I'm like, all right, well, she didn't get brats the last time she was here. They looked really fucking delicious. We might have to go back to the red light district just so we can get a good brat. But no, we go to the harbor. It's at this point where I'm like, okay, well, I know enough German. I can order us food. I can, in terrible German, like, hey, can we get the bill and things like this. And so it was a nice little boost of confidence, despite the owner or the cook, whoever he was, the guy running the place there at the time, maybe just a manager. He spoke English, and maybe he just spoke enough English and was confident in it that he made me believe he spoke more than he did. But, like, I'd say everything in German, he'd say it all in English, and, like, maybe he's just thinking, all right, this American asshole, he's ruining my language. He's speaking it very, very poorly. But, no, it was good times. So then we walk. It's like a 25-minute walk from the restaurant down to the Opera House. So, like, all right, well, we ate a lot of really yummy panfish, and it was on top of these potatoes and this sweet mustard sauce. It was so good. But very, very filling. So we're like, all right, we'll walk off dinner, and it's like I'm walking around the bowling ball in my stomach. It's sitting so heavy, and but it's nice because, again, I'm coming from, we had a shitload of heat and humidity. I've been working out in it all summer, and I hate summer to begin with, so I'm dying for a little bit of fall. And the fact that I'm able to walk around in a jacket and a scarf, and we got a nice wind blowing off the water, and it's gorgeous out. It's the best. I love it. I'm thoroughly enjoying my time there and enjoying the company. And so we get to the I can see the name here. It's the Elbe Philharmonie. Anywho, so we get there, and it's just this gorgeous piece of architecture, smack dab in the middle of a couple canals overlooking everything. And you take these long ass escalators up to the top. It's free admittance. You just go grab some tickets and then you go up to the top. And as we get up there, of course, the sun's setting. There's There's a lot of people milling around, and it's gorgeous. We walk around. It looks like down at the bottom there's what might be a event. They've got a big screen playing Audi commercials. A lot of people sitting around watching Audi commercials. They've got this Audi up on a platform nearby. It's the new A8. Looks cool and whatever, but like, do they just sit around and watch commercials for their local cars? But we didn't stick around for that. But we're at the top watching everything, and because I knew kind of what was going to happen, you know, she had said, "Oh, you know, the first night we're getting there, we're going to go to here and we're going to go to here," and based on the timing, like, all right, sun's going to be setting, we're going to have eaten, we're going to have walked around the city, and we're going to be at a high point in the city where we're overlooking everything. Time to pop the fucking question. So I pop the question. She cries a little bit. She says yes. I make several bad jokes. And then we walk back to the hotel. Everybody win-win. And yeah, I wake up at 10 a.m. because I don't sleep well that night. Not for sexy reasons, but because time change. But yeah, I'm starving. It's 11:30 here. I still haven't eaten. Apparently we drank all the water we had, so I'm pretty dehydrated. I need to go out and get some food. But we'll get this uploaded. And then, maybe make another post once we get to Amsterdam.